St Patrick's Day weekend, draped in green, white, and orange. And unfortunately, unlucky for some, Morg, roll the intro.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Football Boo Podcast, episode 19. My name is Fennan. Joining alongside me, as always, a man of very few people that can lift my spirits when they're down after a fucking shit weekend of sport. Mayhem, how you doing, my friend?
Uh, probably better than you at this precise moment in time. I imagine the weekend is still very raw. Um, as we'll get on to later on, and it gives me the gentle reminder that the derby sits just the other side of the international break. Obviously, seeing the emotions that you've gone through this weekend, and it puts me on edge because it's a big one in a couple of weeks, as it was in South Wales. Um, but we'll come to that. But yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad.
Good, good,
How
good,
how
good,
are
good.
you? How are you? 48 hours on. How are you?
Hurting, disgusted, and I'm quite. I mean, even the international break coming in now, it's still another. It's like another worry to take on because obviously Wales are in playoff contention for the Euros. We haven't quite made. We haven't confirmed our flights to Germany just yet. We've still got two hurdles in our way in the form of Finland, and then, hypothetically, if we get the result over Finland, then we have Estonia or Poland to await us in that final. Thankfully, we got a home draw, so we have that in our favour. But yeah, no, going from one anxious-filled build up to this past weekend, it's going to be an anxious-filled build up to this Thursday. And just a disclaimer to all the listeners, and they're making comparisons to last week's episode to this week's episode. I do not have bipolar disorder because I was in a very, very jolly good mood this time last week. However, not the case this week, unfortunately, which we will get on to. You know how I like to start things off, Mayhem. I like to get you to get the ball spinning, get the wheels in motion. Celtic continuing where they left off from the win against Livingston, 3-1 victory over St Johnstone, and definitely a positive result, especially going into the league split now, which I believe has kicked in or will kick in after the international break.
Yeah, it's, couple of fixtures left
Couple of fixtures left,
to
okay.
the other side of the international break. An international break which is oddly not filled with any kind of anxiety. Scotland have wrapped things up in very uncharacteristic fashion.
Haha!
Steve Clarke has bored us all to another major competition, but he's there.
He's
You
done
know,
it. He's done it,
no,
and we got to take our hats off to Steve Clarke.
yeah, I
As
mean,
as much as we've sat here in the past on multiple episodes, and you have expressed your thoughts and feelings towards Steve Clarke, he is getting things right, and you are off to another international competition.
yeah, and you must be taking 16 defenders, and oh, they'll go
And Lyndon
and they'll
Dykes.
play. But I think we've got Northern Ireland as well as a friendly, which will be interesting. Um, they've tucked that in the international fixtures and some other game that. But I don't care about either of them, to be honest. Fuck it, play the kids. Um, but yes, veering away from Hampden business to off to the east end of Glasgow. Yeah, it was.
It was 3 points.
Yeah,
You kept within reach of Rangers. Based on that expression, I don't think it was quite a. It wasn't a clinical performance, I'd imagine.
it was difficult to kind of summarize in the fact. that you know for this season it was a good performance. If you're comparing it against where we were and that, you're still kind of thinking, well, you're still kind of looking at the fence and going, Cameron Carter has come off and we didn't look great. So yeah, problems, but obviously carrying obviously still the injury to Callum, and Owata having to come into that pivot role, that number 6 position. I think we've done all right. I think we are starting to see the emergence of Nicholas Kuhn. He's had 2 decent games back to back. Was heavily involved, at the assist for Kyogo's goal, and then
On the
Kyogo
score sheet
returning the
as well,
favour
yeah.
and scoring. So it looks like we're seeing the emergence of Nicholas Kuhn, which is positive. And Kyogo looked back to form, could easily on another day have had 2, if not more. Maeda's looking super sharp and fast, which is good. That's what he's good at.
Good athlete.
He is really good. Yeah, Nawata looked okay, and certainly in the first half we looked like we were popping it about and creating chances, getting Nicholas Cunningham behind, getting Maeda being very direct, and yeah, it was good. And then we scored very early in the second half. Ball clipped forward and Kyogo gets in behind and squares it for Kun to put into an empty net. And then we really went into cruise control mode and kind of managed the game, which is fine. But we haven't had too many days of really lighting that place up this season. I'd like to have seen them be a little bit more cutthroat, a little bit more direct, and really gone to knock St Johnstone for 4, 5, 6. Jamesy Forrest comes off the bench, and Bags as well. For I think it's his 3rd goal of the season, which is a nice touch. After Brendan Rodgers saying he was his best winger, which is a bit confusing considering he barely played in this season. But
That's a worrying sign.
I think what he meant is like his ability on the ball rather than those physical attributes that are very much needed in today's game to be a winger.
Yeah.
But he took his goal really well. And it was that solid 6 out of 10. Get it done. We lose a sloppy goal, which denies Joe Hart a clean sheet, and doesn't have the same domineering look to the scoreline. We've leaked another goal that really we shouldn't have. But yeah, there's some positives. I'm waiting for Matt O'Reilly to really burst back. He's gone well off the boil. But we're hearing that Rio Hatate may be back after the international break. We're hearing that Callum McGregor may be back, and obviously Cameron Carter-Vickers was back for this game and played 70 minutes before coming off for Lager Bielka, who again just randomly appeared on the bench, and we decided he was good enough to play 20 minutes.
Has he just missed out through injury or just through
at this point
through form?
At this point, I'm guessing he's some long lost Swedish cousin of The Rock, and he just turns up once a year, WrestleMania time. The music hits, he comes running out.
Somehow.
It's getting to be a bit strange, but like you've spent however much we spent on this guy, €3.5 million, whatever it was. It's not cheap in terms of what we go out and we buy players for, and just don't see him. Same with Nawrocki. I think he was like €5 million. Just don't see the guy.
Yeah, Gustav Lagi Bielka, you could say, has not quite laid the smack down on the Cinch Premiership. Sorry, pun completely intended, but when we start talking about wrestling, it's just going to happen. But no, I understand where you're coming from.
I think we all get caught up, and we all want the guy to do well as well because he's Swedish. We had Carl Starfelt, big shagger, and he left us.
Lustig, if we're going further back as well, he was a cult hero.
Johan Mialbi, even
we're
Strogovic, and I'm talking about defenders.
Oh,
Don't
defense.
start.
Okay, okay,
Calm,
okay, okay.
settle down.
I was gonna say
You
we've
know what I
missed
mean?
a big name here.
I know Freddie Ljungberg, but
There it is.
so there is that connection, and there's the obvious one as to why every Swedish player would always be welcomed with open arms into Celtic, obviously. So we want the guy to do well, but obviously Brendan isn't taken to him, and we're being forced to live out Liam Scales, even though he's dropped off a wee bit, and Stephen Welsh for who knows why. And the worry is there in that come a couple of weeks away at Ibrox, I would feel very nervous about Stephen Welsh being part of the defence. Liam Scales wouldn't exactly fill me with confidence, but what he has on his side is he's played against them twice this season, played very, very well, and got man of the match.
Well,
And
I think he's featured predominantly for Celtic in general this season.
he's fallen off a wee bit since January. There's definitely been a dip, but yeah, the first half of the season he was fantastic, and certainly he's been to Ibrox, he's won there this season, and obviously he was very very good at home against them as well. So he has that in the bank. So hopefully he's back in time. And hopefully Rio's back and Callum's back, and we're fighting, we're at full fitness to have the best opportunity to go there and get a positive result. Um, yeah, it's a coin flip. But obviously, they had their game cancelled. Great banter, you know. St Patrick's Day, they will travel up. Unlucky for some. Dundee called the game off. And so at the moment, we sit top of the table, albeit we've played a game more. So yeah, we've a couple of games to get in and about it and make sure that we do the business. A couple of weeks now until the derby. I think it's the 7th of April, so with Easter in between, and then it's go time, and it's big.
Yeah, and like you said, obviously a few games out from the derby, and despite having a couple of results like the back-to-back wins over Livingston and St Johnstone, despite those victories, they like I can feel within you, Mayhem, that there's something that just doesn't sit quite right with you. Now, is that like the mixture? It's a mixture of like individuals being picked by Brendan Rodgers, and then just that lack of ruthlessness approaching these games. Like you said, like when Celtic took a 3-0 lead, you expect them to take that cutthroat mentality and really force themselves upon St Johnstone to pump 5 or 6 past them, and that's something that we're very familiar with Celtic. With it being part of the model, and it doesn't feel that Brendan Rodgers has quite managed to repeat that.
There just feels this strange disconnect with the team at the moment. Like, you're not really sure what you're going to get. And look, I've said it before that it's maybe a subjective that we've been a wee bit spoilt across the last 11 years, but across that time, if we are going to Tynecastle and we need to win to go top, Celtic go and win that game. And we didn't. In previous years, if we were 8 points clear at December, we're sitting here in March, and that's been extended to 16 points. We don't drop the amount of points that we've dropped. So it is strange, and it's very unique, the position that we find ourselves in. It's not a position that we find ourselves in all too often. So you don't really know what Celtic you're going to get on the day. If Celtic's big players turn up and they play to the best of their ability, we've seen twice already this season that on our day we're better than them. But the old cliche rocks around so often, but this is the biggest derby that I can remember for a long time. They can tell you that it doesn't hurt them, that when they won their 55, they don't give a shite because they stopped the 10. Oh, we don't care, we weren't allowed in the stadium. Ah, bullshit. Shut your mouth, wee Billy. It it hurts you more than me booting you in your balls, right? They are disturbed and disgusted that they didn't get to see wee Tav lift up his cup, right? They haven't seen that. Parked themselves outside the stadium and had to fucking make do with someone opening a wee window and from the changing room getting yeah. I mean, it wasn't a real celebration. Yeah, they went and beat the fuck out of each other in
It
George
wasn't even
Square.
it wasn't number 55 anyway. It was number 1.
And I'm talking from their perspective, mate. Let them live their lives. I mean, everybody knows the truth, but they went and beat the fuck out of each other in George Square. Good, fair play to them. So they haven't had that moment, and this is what it's building to. So this derby is, and if they don't win this, if they if they don't win it this season, they're fucked. If they can't get it over the line this season with Pep Guardiola, Alex Ferguson, Philip Clement, right? After how shite we've been, because we can't be shite next season. It's physically impossible. Even if, no matter what, we can't be shite next season. And if we are, fucking hell, well done.
Yeah.
So it's huge, and there's no away fans, which will obviously be huge. Again, I've said huge a lot. And then the league is split, and we'll have the return, and there could be a few twists down the line. Obviously, as you get closer and closer to the finish line, things. Obviously, that's the hardest step to take, but I just don't know what side we're going to get. If we get, Callum McGregor on top form, if we get O'Reilly on top form, Kyogo playing well, Maeda chasing James Tavernier all the way back to his own corner flag. Greg Taylor coming in and inverting and playing those passes that he can. Cameron Carter-Vickers solid. We'll win the game because our best players are better than theirs, and they can. I'm sure they'll argue. It's fine. You can argue all you want, but that's how it boils down. That's how it levels out. We've played you twice this season. We beat you twice this season. So our best players on form beat yours. End of story. But I just don't know if we can rely on Celtic to go and deliver, especially when there is, and then the club will know it as well. There's so much riding on that game. I just wonder, does the pressure get to him, especially in such a hostile atmosphere?
Well, that's the old saying goes. It all comes down to who shows up on the day. And then this may be a bit of a silly question. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a set timeline on when Celtic and Rangers can have away fans back in each other's stadium?
No set timeline. I guess it just boils down to Rangers growing a pair. They're asking for 800 fans and saying, "Oh well, Wookie, you 800 fans. Fuck your 800 fans, man. Fuck your 800." Right, so we could easily have a. It's never going to go back to the old allocations. They've got those wee onion bears tucked in there now, singing all their wee songs. Right, they're not going anywhere. But you could give us the European allocation. You could give us 2,500 fans, and then they go and say, "Well, we're stuck in a corner behind a pole." For fuck's sake, man! 10% of your fan base are going to be in behind that pole. Like, stop crying. So, is there a timeline? Probably not, mate. And to be honest, you know, all the pundits and all that cry about it, the derby's lost something.
Because I'm trying to remember like how the allocation works at Celtic Park. Because I'm sure we were sitting next to the away fans, right? And then to our right was where the Green Brigade are sat.
Yeah, yeah. So they would sit where we were sitting. If we were going back to old allocation and it was Derby Day, then that would be away fans. If we were to go new allocation, we would probably have just been inside the home fan allocation, but would have been right next to them. So, but where you were sitting would have been the old allocation for Rangers fans, and the fans are saying that we stuck them in the corner, or it was all restricted view. Apparently, is what they're saying.
Okay.
Yeah,
Green Brigade are in a corner.
But it's because of the poles. So see
It's just the actual
on the main
pillars,
stand,
yeah.
the pole. They're saying it's all restricted view. I mean, literally, like I said, when we got tickets and you was over, you were sitting in that seat. Would you say that you was restricted from seeing Odson Edward dominate Ross County?
I've got video footage of how great our seating was.
Yeah, well, you need to show that to
Odds on
the.
Edward coming over to us and giving his shirt to. Well, I was hoping he was going to give it to one of us, but he didn't. He gave it to some. I don't know, I'm not even going to finish that sentence, but he gave it to another fan in attendance.
You need to show that to the Brown Loafer Brigade, telling us all that it's a heavily restricted view and they can't see. I mean, over the last couple of years where you've come to see a point you wouldn't want to see anyway, you've been pumped and been scudded up the road. Come on, the fuck. You could have just sung your songs and gone away. But do I think the derby's less because of it? Nah, not really. It's less when you're 3-0 up at home and those seats would have been empty and we could have waved them goodbye. It's always good crack. But, you know, do I miss hearing their pish? Nah. The only time I watch him is when they're playing us, so I don't have to hear it any other time. I only have to hear it twice a season now when I have to, watch us playing away there. So do I miss it? Nah. Keep him out. Lock him out. Fuck him. Gives me more chance of getting a ticket. I'm
I was gonna
still
say,
on the waiting
yeah.
list. Montefuck Celtic. Jesus
Bloody
Christ.
hell! How long has it been now?
3 years, I think.
Oh, it's longer than
Fuck it.
that.
Nah, I don't think so, man.
It's felt longer than that. That's for sure.
It was a season we began for maybe. I think it's 3. It was a season we began for the 10. We fucked that and we've won 2 in a row since. So yeah, I think about 3 years. So look, either fucking give me a ticket, right?
Just do
And
it.
and then you can let him back in. I don't give a shit. Otherwise, I'll just keep my fucking locked out and let me buy a
Like
ticket.
Celtic, if you're listening, I mean, think of how far we can expand this content, live vlogs and everything. Then again, I think we need permission from other executives. So
Potentially.
I don't know. It's pushing the boat out a bit too far. Maybe. Who knows?
But so yes, in summary, 6 out of 10. It was all right. Still want more, but I guess we shall segue from someone saying it's a C plus, just a pass mark, to South Wales, where I feel the grading may be slightly harsher.
I've just been asking myself the same question for the last 48 hours, and I think what hurts the most is that I put so much faith into this side going into that clash. I was saying all week, like I said it last week on the pod, where the magnitude and the importance of this game is far greater than ever. The opportunity to do a historic double over those wank stains, to put us in concrete playoff contention, and to do it at the Liberty as well. It was just all written and all just like it was the best time and place we could have done it, because we went on a 4-win game run, beating Ipswich in emphatic style, 2 late goals, and I'm thinking, don't change the side for Saturday. Do not change the side for Saturday. With that momentum going forward into that game, we do not make any changes. The only one name that I'm in an R in over was Callum O'Dowda, based on his goal against Ipswich, and he looked incredibly sharp when he came on in the 7-side derby. Gutless, spineless, the lot of them. And you could tell from the mentality from the first 5 minutes that they wanted it more than we did. Why can we never fucking show up at this place? Every time we go to the shithole, we shit the bed from the first fucking whistle. And they got dickheads like Harry Darling, who's getting in fucking Yaku's face, and of course he's going to be that kind of character who's going to rise to the occasion. They've got dickheads like fucking Fulton, Grimes. The list goes on. Jamie Patterson, he's another wanker and all. Fuck him. And they just like, oh my god, like they just rattled all of us and just completely put us off from playing the football that we can play. Yaku Mate, I don't want to see in a Cardiff shirt ever again. Fucking the occasion got to him far too soon. Gets an early booking. Like, he's got Harry Darling rent free in his head. He's got this guy who shags cats in his spare time and fucking chases children into the beach doing the swim away. That's the kind of cunt Harry Darling is. Fuck that ginger prick. And the first goal, I mean, there's a lot of controversy around the first goal, where the ball comes into the back post, NG gets, has a clash in the box, and it's just a simple tap in, and a lot of fans calling for it to be a free kick. My main question is, why the fuck has Perry NG got 2 men on him? So that was 1-0 in the coffin there. They come out in the second half, they get a penalty that fucking Ronald as well, that Ronald McDonald Brazilian winger, goes down like a sack of shit in the box. Wants to give that as penalty, but doesn't want to give the foul on Perry NG. That's fucking coincidental. Thankfully, fucking Josh Cullen puts it wide of the post, and that's blush is spared, and we've still got an opportunity to turn this game around. And it just certain individual performances, like Josh Bowler as well. Josh Bowler, I don't know who this Bowler is. Like, I wanted the fucking Bowler from Blackpool last season, who was bagging double digits in goals and assists, and we got this guy who's just fucking laying an egg every time he goes up against fucking Nathan Wood. Like, I don't understand it. Like, the guy was just so timid to take on a fullback. Josh Tyman had him in his back pocket all fucking game. Where was the Josh Bowler who likes to, hold the ball up and then, either take him on, cut inside, dribble it past 1 or 2 men? None of that at all. Got the ball, played it backwards. Played it to Ryan Wintle, underhits a pass, they're on the break again. Plays it to Manny Siopis, takes a shit touch, they're on the break again. Just absolutely fucking gutless, a lot of them. And at this point now, it's just like, well, we got 8 pre-season friendlies to go, because we ain't going to make the playoffs. I think Norwich have opened too much of a gap on us to really catch them, and with the game and the running of games we got, I just feel, it's just too much of an uphill battle for us at this point. The silver lining to it all is that I feel that we've avoided relegation. I think we've still got we've got about 4-5 points over Sunderland, who we play on Good Friday next after the international break. Whether we bounce back or not and really solidify a mid-table position, I don't know. And at this point, it's really hard to show any care towards it either. Like, it's just the same old fucking song and dance where they always that is their Christmas Day, that fixture. Swansea, Cardiff at the Liberty, and they always show up for it. And did they deserve to win it? Absolutely. And that fucking hurts to say more than anything. And then social media becomes such a dark place as well, where you just don't even know where to look, because it's just, Cardiff shit the bed. Swansea's manager out on the piss doing shots with fucking fans who are clearly related to each other and fucking have baths together. It's just, and he's on an electric scooter down in the town. Swansea shithole, don't ever go there. And it's just soul crushing, man. It's absolutely soul crushing. It just completely breaks your spirit for the rest of the season, and just for football in general. And from that, and then going into Thursday, when Wales have not guaranteed their spot at the Euros, there's still a whiff of anxiety there, like whether or not, can I enjoy any football for the rest of this month, and then going into the Euros in June? Like, I don't know, man. But yeah, it was a very hurtful result. I wanted that double over them more than anything. But 3 wins from 4 derbies on paper, I wouldn't usually complain really, but we were just, when you're that close to just getting 4 out of 4, ticking all the boxes, and to be let down by a side that you put so much faith into, and you overlook the likes of Callum O'Dowda, who had been fantastic, Joe Rules, who's been our longest serving player at the club to date now, having him sit out and not feature. Aaron Ramsey as well. I know obviously he wasn't fit, but it would have been great to got him on earlier and just fucking break his bollocks for the remainder of that second half. But yeah, it was. Yeah, it hurts a lot, man. It really hurts, and I think from this point on, like I said, we just maintain a respectable position in the league, and it's all about going forward into the summer in terms of how we can improve this side. I don't want to. I can't go an inch further with a fucking striker like Yaku Meite. Jeju isn't it. Full stop. Like that builder striker. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. This is what teams always counteract. They have teams in the Championship have physical, big, stocky fuckers as defenders, and if you're trying to counteract that with a big, stocky fuck up top, they're not going to have any ball control. They're not going to have any pace unless they're fucking Erling Haaland 2.0. It's not going to happen. And it all went to shit, mate. It all went to shit, and yeah, it's a long way to recover.
The difficult bit is like you said, when as hard as it is, if it's a tight game and it's decided by the odd goal, then you can you come away and you say, "Oh, look, that's a shit result," but we played well. We went toe to toe with them, and we just didn't get it done. But it just wasn't that. Like I think I said to you on Saturday, like Josh Ballard, what's he? I've never seen that kind of performance in my life from a winger, and I'm quite well versed at watching shit wingers play football. Being a Celtic fan, there's been a few special performances this season, but that just picking the ball up in his own half, ball rolling and passing back to the wing back. I know no endeavour to go and affect the game in a positive notion, and then you're passing back to whoever, Perry and G, or one of the centre backs. And if your winger hasn't got the courage to take the ball on and pop it into midfield, they're never going to pop it into midfield. So they're going to go right with the big guy up top and try and hit him. That was ineffective all game. Like you said, you got the yellow card. I think Harry Darling hits the ground pathetically for someone of his size, but at the same time, there definitely is forward motion on the head, and I think he's a lucky boy that if there'd have been VAR, put it this way, if there'd have been VAR and they'd have slowed that down,
he would have gone. Yeah, it would have gone straight. On another day, it would have been a repeat of Callum Robinson last
which
year.
is just inexcusable to lose your head, because that must have been spoke about going in. Callum Robertson obviously not fit, sitting on the bench. Surely there was that discussion. Don't lose your head. Don't let the crowd entice you in. Don't let them entice you in. And that's exactly what he did. And he's a lucky boy that he done it on a part of the pitch that the officials couldn't see the full extent of the incident. Obviously, he had his back to the ref, and he's given him a chance, but was ill-effective. And I think the second goal really illustrates what I said to you about Nat Phillips, in that if he's defending the edge of his box, decent defender. If you're asking him, obviously when you were going for it and pushing up, to push up and then chase back, desperate and utter dog shit, because he was never going to catch low. Didn't even look like catching low. Couldn't even effectively fucking clatter the cunt. Just couldn't even take him out. And then the game's decided by a bigger margin, and arguably, probably, maybe correctly so, that they should have been further ahead than they were anyway. But it's disappointing to watch the game and never, and obviously it must be equally disappointing for you, but never once have that tingle of, all right, this is a chance. And then I didn't see that for Cardiff.
And especially from the right-hand side, in the likes of Perry and G and Josh Bowler, who, Perry and G, who is without a doubt our player of the season so far. Like, if you're excluding Ruben Colwill, I think Perry and G, literally head and shoulders our player of the season. And him and Bowler just got absolutely bossed in that game by Josh Tyman, Placheta, Ronald. They even swapped wings at one point. They wanted to take turns
Yeah.
in just causing mayhem for NG. And yeah, no, like I said, they wanted it more than we did, and it's just like I said, it's that one fucking fixture that we just never show up in. This always happens. Yeah, the last time that we beat them there was when there was no fans, and Aidan Flint got a goal in the opening first 5 minutes, and then we sat off of them and somehow came out with 3 points after suffering 85 minutes of just non-stop penetration, and we just had none of that throughout that whole game.
Yeah, I think the only real, and it never really materialised, probably because it was Jakob Mate on the ball, but it's where he pinches the ball and he should cut it back to Turnbull,
Oh yeah,
and,
in the first half. Oh,
and, and,
massively, yeah.
and he delays and he delays and he delays, and then I think it's Darling in the end that gets back and you get a corner. But that's the only real moment that I think of. Apart from that, I know that there was like a really tame header from a corner. Bowler got
Good,
into the
yeah.
box and cut
Yeah,
back,
Nat
cut back
Phillips to the back
again,
post. Gutas
cut.
misses one from 6 yards out. Colwill blazes over from.
That's what I mean. That Bowler, that's the one where Bowler gets into the box, cutbacks again, cutbacks. It doesn't know what the fuck to do. Ends up playing
Mm,
it off to Colwell. But there's no. It just really felt like a lack of leadership. On a day where you really need leaders, you really need people to stand up and say, right, we've got to dig in here at times. I expected Swansea to start the way that they did, and to be honest, I wasn't overly fearful, probably because I wasn't watching it as a diehard Cardiff fan. But I wanted us to win massively, but I wasn't overly fearful of that start. I would imagine that was expected. They're going to
yeah,
come flying out of the blocks here. So for the first 10 minutes, right, we sit in, we dig in, we keep it tight, we don't give anything away. They got through that 10-minute block, and I was like, all right, time to grow into the game. And then Mate obviously had his incident, and that seemed to settle everything down, and you were starting to grow into the game. But it just never went from there. And that's the moment where it was really you needed someone like maybe what would have been a Joe Rules, or if Aaron Ramsey could have played for earlier, someone to just come in and dictate, really go toe to toe with Grimes in midfield, not allow them to dictate to the extent that they did with the ball, especially when you don't really have that crazy counter-attack pace on the pitch at the moment because you don't have Adalda and you don't have Colwill, and your option up top isn't going to go in behind, isn't going to threaten in behind. You've got to have more of a stable base in the game, and you never really got it. I thought Colwill, from what I saw, I think Colwill come on and played okay. It's hard to obviously pick someone out when you've been beaten 2-0, but I thought he'd come on and was effective to a point, more so than I don't know what David Turnbull was doing. If anyone in that squad, obviously you'd have had the team that had played in the last derby, so they'd have known. But if anyone should have known about playing in a hostile away atmosphere and what's needed and the kind of characteristics that you need to dig in, should have been this guy. And again, he shits the bed, and that's why he's no longer with us.
yeah,
And he
no,
there will be days, yeah, where he does shit and you go, oh, he's amazing. He'll fucking whack it in from 30 yards out. But in these kind of games, we need leaders, we need people to stand up. He's being overshadowed by Grimes and whatever other fucking mediocre League One player they've got cutting
oh, they have
about their
Joe
team.
Allen still fucking playing, even though
Yeah,
he's about
Joe
50
Allen.
now. About 50 now, and they still had
What
fucking
the
Fulton come off the
fuck?
bench. This is the thing, man. Like, I mean, if you're looking on paper right now, I was, and like I said, like the momentum we carried into that game where Ryan Wintle bags the equaliser against Ipswich and put in a fucking 9 out of 10 performance against
He was
Ipswich.
shit
He
again.
was
He was
wank.
off.
He was absolutely wank, and could absolutely justify everyone else's opinion on him. He was awful. Misplaced 5 yard passes left, right, and centre in that game. Siopis looked completely out of shape, was chasing shadows from start to finish, and then rightfully was brought off for Ramsey in the end. And again, that was a change that came too late. And yeah, looking back on it now, yeah, I would have absolutely started O'Dowda ahead of Mate, moved Carlin Grant into number 9, Colwell for Turnbull, because at least
Yeah.
Colwell, being a Cardiff boy, would have gone in with a
And
sentiment
like,
factor.
and maybe that's the flip side to it. Maybe less. Maybe Errol Bullets looked at that and thought, can I trust him? Being from Cardiff, being so young, can I trust him to go and keep his head in this atmosphere? So perhaps there's something to that. But at some point, you've got to trust your best players to go and affect the game. And if it was a choice between Ruben Colwell or David Turnbull at Celtic, off of what I've seen this season, I wouldn't be taking David Turnbull back. I think Colwell is a better player. He's younger, he's hungrier. The ceiling for him is much higher. And if you don't allow him to experience these games, how does he know that isn't a real experience of the derby? He comes on in the derby and he's chasing the game. Like he hasn't felt his way into the game. He's not been involved in a game where it's all square and it's been no. He's chasing the games. He's got to go and try and make something happen. He hasn't gained that proper match day experience of coming out and building into a game the way that you have to in a derby. So I think at some point you've got to trust these players because what's he played in both derbies? It's a collection of about 60 minutes. Does
Yeah,
that put
yeah,
does that
approximately, yeah.
does that put him in a position to start next season, or do you're relying on the people that have failed you time and time again?
This
I
is it.
guess.
This is it. And that was and again, I expected a lot more from David Turnbull as well with the,
Oh.
with the portfolio he's built at Celtic and being involved in such big crucial games with the
Well, the
Glasgow Derby.
atmosphere shouldn't have got to him. I mean, on any given
I
day, any
didn't think the
atmosphere.
atmosphere was that fucking great either. It was fucking quiet there.
Well, it was certainly hostile in the first 10 minutes that I was watching, but you know, you've got to expect that. You've got to expect when you go in to these kind of places to to be handed off the ball, for it to be a hostile wall of noise, and that shouldn't have phased Turnbull with some of the places that he's played. Places in Europe and you Glasgow derbies. It shouldn't have phased him, but he looked anonymous in the game.
Yeah, no, didn't make a difference whatsoever. And like I said, he was tracking grass in that game, and that was it. But yeah, what more can I say? It's it's more disappointment at the Liberty, and the only thing we could really take from this season now, as it's practically over, unless we somehow manage to go on fucking 8 wins on the trot and manage to scrap a playoff position, which won't happen. It won't happen, but like I said, we've got 3 out of 4 derby wins. We got a mid-table finish, and that's exactly what I hoped for at the start of the season. And so,
Hello.
this game is going to hurt for a while, but
I
it's a
think when we
step in the
sit
right
down,
direction.
when we sit down at the end of the season and we look back on this as a first year for Errol Bullitt, as long as he signs a contract extension and he's here for next season, it will be a good building season. There were points of the season where you were very, very good, points of the season where you weren't so good, and hopefully he'll understand, the reasons as to why that was. The type of profile of player that because ultimately Errol Bullock came to Cardiff City and said he wanted to play a possession-based style of football. Cardiff City do not play a possession-based style of football.
No, we don't have the players who possess that philosophy.
So, if that's his style, then you would hope that he's going to go and identify some people that are going to help him implement that style and help him really put his stamp and his identity on the team, and then he can also take those good bits to know that we can win ugly, but this is how I want to play football as well, and build. But ultimately I think when you look back on it, it's a massive step forward from flirting with League One. You've done the double over Bristol. You've ended that long hoodoo with the win at the Cardiff City Stadium over Swansea, and ultimately you felt the disappointment of going to the Liberty and not performing, which I think is the most. I think that's the most gut wrenching thing in a derby when your team just when you're dominated is sickening.
It is.
Like if when you lose, it's annoying, and of course you're pissed off. But when you're just outplayed, not only do your players get it wrong, it's as if your manager gets it wrong because the tactics just don't do anything to nullify the opposition, and all round it's a piss poor day
Yeah,
for.
I was honestly praying that Michael Duff will come back for one more game at Swansea, and it would have been a different story. But yeah, no, it is what it is. Like it's gonna hurt for the next couple of weeks. But like you said, we'll be sitting here by the end of the season, and I feel the overview of the whole picture will be a little more sweeter to endure. But but we move on, and I mean the last note that I'll leave on is that Vincent Tan fucking get Errol Bullets to sign the team.
Yeah,
Please sign Errol Bullet down.
but you can only imagine the reason that he wouldn't is around investment in the first team.
Yeah, he
You
won
know,
assurances, that's for sure, and it was a bit of a rocky road in January when it came to getting available funds to make reinforcements, and so this is the thing. Like, if it feels that it's a little bit fragmented, somewhat already, then it does. You do overthink and worry what is to come, and but I just really hope they do get him signed down as soon as possible. I hope they announce him as soon as they announce the season ticket sales for the early bird prices. Errol Bullett's here next year, so should you.
oh, let's hope so.
Let's hope so. Well, moving on to the other events that took place this weekend. We didn't have a lot of Premier League football take place, as we did have the FA Cup, but there was one particular Premier League fixture that stuck out like a sore thumb, and that was the humbling that Spurs endured at Craven Cottage to Fulham. 3-0.
Is there a more Spurs thing than beating your Champions League contenders and Aston Villa away from home, and then just going and pissing it up the wall by getting pumped by Fulham?
You know what I mean? Like, it's just I can't work this team out, man. Like, I just can't. Like you said, you put it perfectly there. You've gone and absolutely battered your top, rivals for European places, and then you just go and completely, along with the goal difference as well,
Just
throw away the
shit
fun.
the bed.
Just shit, mate.
Yeah, um, I didn't see any of it, but I imagine that killed a lot of bet Ackies across the weekend.
Oh yeah.
Spurs must be a bookie's wet dream, like.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, but
um,
yeah, Rodrigo Muniz had a field day, completely self-destructive.
yeah, strange result. Um, and ultimately, it isn't as destructive as it could have been because Villa only drew at West Ham. Um, I I didn't see much of that, but it looks like they had 2 goals disallowed West Ham for handball or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Villa have ultimately gained a point in that scrap for the Champions League football. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But yeah, you reel them in, you think you might, here you go, and then you just utterly implode at Fulham. Strange.
Yep. So, well, it's definitely one step forward, 2 steps back for Spurs, and they'll certainly have to do their best to bounce back after the international break. But speaking of teams ruining Ackies over the weekend, Coventry City, 95th minute winner at Molineux over Premier League side Wolves to send them into, I believe it's now, is it the quarters of the FA?
Semis.
Or is it the semis? It's the semis.
Yeah, Wembley bound.
Wembley bound indeed.
Good draw from.
Very good draw for them. Absolutely. Here the United fans are buzzing about it.
I wouldn't be if I was a United fan.
I absolutely wouldn't whatsoever.
If
But
it, sure, well, I don't know, but if I was a United fan, I wouldn't have wanted City, and I wouldn't have wanted Coventry. So that would have meant I would have taken Chelsea because you know that Coventry team are going to be that's their moment.
This is
Even
it.
even after half, I don't know how many people they retained from the playoff final, but this is their moment. Manchester United at Wembley in an FA Cup semi-final. Uh, Absolutely no fear, and if they play like they did at Molineux, there's no reason, absolutely no reason at all that they couldn't go and have an impact on that match.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think even despite their squad, obviously they lost a few key players last summer when they lost in the playoff final. They managed to restructure and retain like a respectable league side who are flying quite high in the championship at the moment and still in contention for the playoffs. I think they'll absolutely relish this occasion and will definitely take on that underdog pedigree going into it. And why the fuck not? You got a day out in Wembley. You're going up against a side who have been very bipolar this season. 1 minute they're up, next minute they're down in Man United. And I mean, of course, United will go into that game on the high of knocking Liverpool out. And that's, I tell you what, I mean, that made for a good extra time. I mean, like you said, Joel, I didn't watch most of the first 90 minutes, but I mean, a game that was really set up for Liverpool to be out of sight, and United take the extra time, and Ahmed
Well,
Diallo with the winner.
it's it's United's season. That's the pressure thing for United here, right? Champions League is probably too far away. They did fuck all in the Carabao Cup, bottom of their group in Europe. This is their season.
Yeah,
It's and and if at least if they'd have gone out to it, like if they'd have got City and they'd have lost to City, people would have been disappointed. But ultimately, they'd have said, it's City kind of thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
If they lose to Coventry, fucking hell. Like, like, okay, I can understand why you'd be happy to get the draw. It's on paper the easiest step, but it's the tie that comes for me with the most jeopardy. Like if you'd have lost to Chelsea, the billionaire bottle jobs and all that kind of carry on, but they're still a respectable Premier League team that are mid-table or whatever they are now. That on their day can challenge. They went toe to toe with Liverpool in the League Cup final. So, but if you go at Coventry, Manchester United go out to Coventry.
I tell you what, that may well be the only live stream I'll watch from start to finish of Mark Goldbridge and see how crazy shit gets.
No, fuck that guy.
No, alright. Never mind. Well, speaking of certain individuals who were not so happy post match, was the big German himself, Mr. Jurgen Klopp. Had a bit of a Barney with, funny enough, from a Scandinavian TV reporter, where he had stormed out after a multiple of questions that he didn't quite like the lining to.
Jurgen seems to do this a lot.
He does it
Doesn't he?
far too often nowadays.
Yeah, like he does. He seems to get really, really triggered by reporters' questions.
Mm.
Um, and again, he's a passionate guy, and he's obviously lost to his, their biggest rivals, and he probably feels like they should have won the game, and they had a lot of control in the second half, and they ultimately didn't turn that possession and control in the match into goals, and they paid for it. Um, but to have this constant thing where you're
Too many injuries, too many games to play, and I'm just, well, what do you
who the
expect?
fuck is injured?
Oh,
Trent.
he always just says injuries. He doesn't
Yeah.
fucking
So
actually clarify who's out.
Trent's injured, and what Jota's injured.
Jota's always injured. Like
But
that's just a guarantee all
Allison
season.
Allison is injured, obviously.
Yeah.
But then it- who who else? I mean, that wouldn't have started. That Robinson was playing, Van Dijk's playing, McAllister's playing, Sabozlai's
Well,
playing,
I imagine
Salah's
Matip is
playing.
injured again because they're always playing that Quansar at centre back with Van Dijk now.
Would he
And
have would he have played?
well, this is the thing now. Like this is it.
Uh,
He boasted about how proud he was of his boys in the Carabao Cup final, and then you shit the bed at Old Trafford, and all of a sudden you're worried about fucking injuries and too many games being played. What do you expect when you're still in every single competition in the season, pal? I don't get him. I miss the old Jurgen Klopp who first came in, who was classified as the normal one, not the whiny little cunt he is now because he's got new teeth and it's fucking changed his whole personality.
I think I think you can see, in that interview he did where he said he was tired and he couldn't keep going. I think you can see it a wee bit. Like, why are you getting so riled up? But like, it's a reporter's job, right, to ask the difficult
Yeah,
questions.
and you're gonna get shit questions.
Yeah,
You are. You just
you're at
are.
Old Trafford and you've just lost. What are you expecting them to ask you? Like how amazing your team is. You've just been dumped out to your biggest rivals.
This
Like
is it.
you need to be a little bit more witty. Rebuttal them a wee bit and not just. I haven't seen the interview to be honest, but
Oh, he probably throws his toys out the pram. Completely throws his toys out the pram. Completely disrespectful to the journalist who, like I said, from Scandinavian TV, English isn't going to be his first language, and so he's going to have to really be precise with his line of questioning in a language which isn't his mother tongue. And so, I may be clutching at straws here and sticking up for the journalist too much, but I just want a bit of the old Klopp back. I mean, I want him to sort of go out on a high and go out on the Jurgen Klopp that first came into Liverpool and just really lit up the place and would just lit up the room walking in. But now he's just honestly, he walks in, he's like a fucking ulcer. He really is.
Jeez.
Honestly, he just fucking
Say,
hurts. Honestly, it
say what you feel.
gives me a toothache every time I hear him talk now when he's injuries. Too many games.
But
Grow
yeah,
up, you old cunt.
obviously, United, Coventry, and then the other semi-finals set up for City, Newcastle. Is City still the possibility of chasing down a double treble?
Yeah, yeah, still on the cards for City, and there were two very fortunate goals from Bernardo Silva, which took some two sweet deflections.
Yeah, tough for Newcastle. Is Eddie Howe in danger?
I don't think he is. When the new ownership came in, they wanted someone who could provide longevity and was not gonna get instant results. He's had, obviously, it's nowhere. It hasn't been as anywhere as good as it was last season. But of course, it's their first year having European football come into play. They've gone further in competitions due to them having a stronger squad. And I feel they just need to really sort of build on that depth now. Of course, they've been unfortunate with injuries as well. Don't mean to sound like Jurgen Klopp at all, but where they've missed the likes of Harvey Barnes, who was a big signing for them, the big saga with Sandro Tonali, who was their marquee signing in the summer with a substantial amount of money. And so, yeah, I think in their case, they've been unfortunate themselves, and I think it's only right that they give Eddie Howe the time to continue to build that squad. I think that there's still prospects like Livramento who's come up now, and I think it seems that Kieran Trippier may be out the door in the summer, uh, based off of interest from Bayern in January, and I think I think Eddie Howe now will probably look to push Livramento further on, and he obviously has a lot of faith in Dan Burn at left back. And so I'm hoping that's an area they address in the summer. But no, I feel it'll be hard done by if they don't give him the time. Eddie Howe, I think he's still the right man to take Newcastle forward.
Does he? I think he sees that this season.
Yeah,
I think they've had magical nights at St James's Park. Probably PSG as the
PSG is definitely the standout.
the sort of culminating result that will probably reverberate around the season for Newcastle. But I just think that the new ownership come in, installed him, and he got Champions League. They were in was it a cup final? Was it the League Cup? They
League
were
Cup
in.
final against United. Yeah,
So they had a trip to Wembley last year. They had Champions League football, so that was that season. They qualified for Champions League football, played really well. This season, they've tasted Champions League. Next season, I think it's important for them to go and spend as much as they can. I know that again they're being impacted by financial fair play, but go and spend as much as they can and really try and take the next jump. Because I don't think he gets another season of languishing eighth or wherever they are,
Yeah.
and not getting to the latter stages of the League Cup or the FA Cup before they pull the plug, because it must be an attractive job if you're maybe if you're a wee bit out of favour for someone like, even, and I'm not saying he's a better manager than him, but someone like Nagelsmann or Graham Potter, or all those kind of people that are kind of ready to emerge up and go on to the absolute elite. Newcastle must look like a fantastic project
100%.
to, to come
100%.
into. So you know, even even if say Liverpool go in a different direction to Alonso in the summer, even someone like him, Leverkusen has its limits. Right, Bayern next year will come back bigger, badder, stronger. But Newcastle, with that Saudi money backing them, the the exposure to the Premier League, you know, so Eddie Howe's really got to be thinking. I think I get through this year as long as they don't do horrific towards the back end here. But next year, I think he's really got to hit the ground running, and they've got to be inside that top four, top five mix, whatever qualifies for Champions League, and not falling away by Christmas like they were this year. Otherwise, I worry for him.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. He'll have to get his signings right in the summer, and he's going to have to hit the ground running in the league and in European competitions, because
Is
if he starts slowly again,
Will
as
Tonali be back for the start of
I
next
think he
season?
will. I think it was only. Well, actually, I'm not too sure. I don't think he'll be back by the start, because I do, if I remember rightly, it feels such a long time ago now when it happened. But it felt like around October, November when they imposed the ban on him, and I think it was a 12-month ban. So there's a bit of a doubt in whether or not he'll be back in time for the start of the new season. But I feel he'll whatever recruitment he brings in, and there will be without a doubt, he'll have to get them spot on, and like I said, they'll have to hit the ground running from the off, because like you said, if they get to Christmas, Newcastle in mid-table obscurity, out of Europe, maybe out of the Carabao Cup as well. That again, another factor coming into play. I don't think they'll give them the time. And like you said, Newcastle are arguably one of the biggest projects in Europe right now, if not the biggest project in Europe right now, where someone could really come in and really, make their mark there. Like you said, prime example, Julian Nagelsmann. He can come into that club and completely revolutionise the whole thing, completely turn them into title contenders, take them the distance in Europe, win them silverware. I think he's got that right caliber where he's still young as well, and he's going to be given that time, and he's going to be given those resources and those funds to take Newcastle to the next level.
Yeah, certainly an interesting proposition, one to keep our eye firmly fixed on. But I think the Dan Burn piece at left back, they've got to return to
we
this.
will never let go of that. Never.
Like, like like long staff in midfield, and these boys are okay as like players on the bench and that, and coming on and playing 20, 30, but to be starting with these players, you
This is
know.
it. These are areas that they now need to take the next step with.
So
Now, of course, Tonali was going to be that guy for Longstaff, in some sense, but yeah, like you said, I know Dan Burn at the time may have been a somewhat big signing, but there's definitely better out
yeah,
there.
big because he's 6'5", not for fuck all else. Like,
Yeah, there, literally. But no, I think
um,
there's still more to come with Newcastle, and I think, I mean, even
And
like the likes of Alexander Isak, who came in and was big money, and he hasn't really quite hit the ground running
yeah,
himself. Like he's come in spells, and then he gets injured, and he comes back, and then the likes of Callum Wilson, who's injured almost all the time.
someone that could be interested in the job um, is someone that I don't think, even if they go on to win the FA Cup, has a future at their current club, and
Poch,
that would be Maurizio Pochettino.
he's magic, you know.
Well, you've probably not seen that from a Chelsea perspective right
No,
now,
he's tragic, you know.
but that's the kind of name that could be
Yeah,
that could be linked. I think at the end of the season, Chelsea will have seen enough and do what Chelsea do, sack their manager.
yep. And then it'll be a rinse and repeat cycle with them, where they will take on a mid-table manager or someone who has overachieved overseas. They come in or probably like a Porto manager, like they've done with Villas-Boas in the past, like just someone from that sort of
Well, that's
that
it.
ilk, and then
I don't even. I think it was the Benfica manager that was being touted, wasn't it? Or was it the Porto manager that
one
was
of the
being?
two. Oh, it might have been is it Conceição, Sergio Conceição they were looking at?
I think it was definitely one of the big names in Portugal
Yeah,
that was being linked as
yeah, they'll be gone at Christmas. They'll be gone
as
at Christmas.
the guy. I know that a lot of Chelsea fans were talking about Jose coming back. I mean, I don't understand it, but
No, I think they would have learnt their lesson from the second spell. I mean, I know he came back and won a Premier League title, but then it just all went to absolute shit. And ultimately, I don't feel. I mean, bar that one season under Antonio Conte, they never really recovered.
yep. Um, so I think that's the problem they have. And do you trust Ted Bundy to go and make
I don't trust Ted Bundy. Full stop, mate.
to make
Todd Bowley.
whatever his name is, shows his relevance? Um,
Don't open his wardrobe, Christ.
I wouldn't open either of them, mate.
Or his
God,
car boot. No, stay away from them. Funny smell. Don't worry about it.
Ted Bundy, Todd Bowley, same thing.
That's staying in, by the way. Fuck it.
I mean, it shows my affiliation. It shows my complete um, first layer care towards um, the English Premiership, as I imagine they have towards Scottish football.
Yeah, of
But
course they do.
you know, Ted Bowley, Ted Bundy, whatever. Um, you know, trust him to go and pick the right person after getting it wrong time and time again. Uh, You've got Abramovich, who's questionably funded and had some questionable friends, but he knew how to pick a manager.
Yeah, Todd though, I don't think he's quite mastered that art yet, but who knows? I highly doubt Poch will get the time. But
Well,
knowing
I
the
mean,
Chelsea model, I don't think he's got long left, and his days are numbered.
yeah,
But who knows? Todd Bowley
yeah.
works in mysterious ways.
But another semi-final, another trip to Wembley. They obviously have the juggernaut that is City in their path, so that'll be
Day out at Wembley. What can you say?
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, nice
Um,
home game for them.
but I think Chelsea is this enigma that they absolutely could go and pull something off. Like that is the enigma that I don't understand it. I really don't, because I look at their team, and they do have some. Like, Cole Palmer has been fantastic from this season. Plucked from obscurity at City, and looks like a questionable decision by
It was a big
by
step,
Pep
yeah.
to
It
let
was a
him go.
massive step for Cole Palmer to come into that side and again, like lead a whole new regime at Chelsea, and what
And I
he's
mean,
done, and he's been a shining light for them. Like in
really
terms,
does really does show the the validation of you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's going to stick. And the proverbial shit being Fernandez and Caicedo and all the other people that are just rammed through the door. I'm sure that will not have any impact on financial fair play, but the Premier League are just taking their time to get round to it. They want to hammer Everton and Nottingham Forest first
which is
before
only
they.
which was flagged earlier today, where they've been awarded a 4-point deduction.
Who's that?
Nottingham Forest.
Oh,
Yeah,
that means that late goal from Luton on the weekend was fucking huge. Does that put Forest in the drop zone?
it does indeed. It does indeed, but crucial.
I mean, I'm guessing. I'm guessing Everton have got points back this season then, because I
Well,
mean,
because they had one deduction of 10 points quite earlier on, but then there was talk of them receiving another points deduction, which I don't think actually happened. So I'm not too sure if they're still on it. Obviously, I know they've
but
appealed
then
it.
how
And
how can you deduct Everton 10 points and then Forest only 4 points?
I'm not too sure. Not
Is there
too
is there
sure.
is there different degrees of cheating?
I guess
Is
so.
is, is there different severities? So what the fuck are you gonna do if you find Man City guilty? You're gonna kick these guys all the way down to play #United? Like, you've cheated. Surely you have a set rule. Like, if you break this, we deduct you this. You can't just start going around to different severities and ripping points away how you please. Surely it's if you do this, you will be deducted this.
Yeah, if you got more than fucking 3 playable squads, you get this.
And the likes of City is the elephant in the room. The Chelsea, that there's no way that could have been done in any way, shape, or form
No.
legally. Um, and I think that there was, again, I'm talking very surface level. I haven't really looked into it, but there was something passed in the Premier League um, quite recently in regards to finances and how it could go, and I think it benefits the top six massively. I heard someone the other day make a really strong argument that it shouldn't be based on income and stuff like that. It should be it should be based on like debt. So you can't go this far into debt, otherwise you're breaching. And if you have someone, so say fucking Bournemouth had a tycoon takeover, and this own person could prove that he had 100 million in the bank, or 100 billion in the bank, whatever, and he wants to invest that in, he should be allowed then to invest that in. That's why we have Man City. That's the whole reason that's why Man City were created.
Yeah, yeah.
They were brought over by this state, and they just pumped money in. They duped Robinho and said, "Do you want to come play for Manchester?" And he turned up, and the fucking place was blue. And
Good
you know,
times, eh? Good times.
they teased Tevez across because he wasn't happy with some of the stuff that was happening at United. You want to come? You want to come play for City? What do I get out of it? This. Your children's children's children will never have to work. We'll pay you that much money. And
Ah,
that's
Manchester, Manchester. See, see, see.
and that's why we have City. Now Newcastle can't do that now because of you have to earn this much. Everton are going to be in the same place. Why are Everton building a new ground? Because they don't like Goodison. No, the supporters fucking love Goodison, but it doesn't generate them enough revenues that they can go out and then spend in the transfer market the same way that the Emirates and Old Trafford and the Etihad and Tottenham Hotspur, the same way that does. In order now to be a big club that competes, you need this commercial revenue. It's ridiculous. Like we're losing stadiums like fucking Goodison Park, which was, in terms of capacity wise, was completely fine for Everton. I'm not sure how many season tickets they hold, have like on a waiting list, but Goodison Park seemed like
They have a waiting list.
I'm sure they do. I
I
mean,
hear Kenilworth Road's being knocked down finally. and I think that was obviously on the
Well,
horizon
that
one
was,
day.
but that was a plan, wasn't it? Like that was
Yeah.
their 5-year plan or whatever was to be when Luton's owners got in was or 10-year plan or whatever was to be a solid championship club and playing in a new stadium, and they obviously haven't got the new stadium part. As it came before, obviously they've exceeded the championship bit by playing. So I think that was always on the plan to
Upgrading from a shed to a greenhouse. Happy days, like.
not going through the back garden for the away end. Missed that. But yeah, the financial politics that seems to erode every football conversation,
Yeah,
especially
it
especially
does.
when you're talking to a Man City fan.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
They've
I
all
think
they've all just turned into financial lawyers. It's
I was
fantastic.
literally
Isn't it?
about to say that. Yeah, like I was just like, fucking hell, you bloody must have passed your business studies at school, Kean. Christ, like all this knowledge you have shared with me this evening.
And you just. I'm not saying look, I'm 100%, innocent until proven guilty. So at this point, Man City for me have won everything legitimately, and that'll trigger anyone that's listening that's a United fan or a Liverpool fan. For me, they've won it all legitimately. Fantastic, well done to them. If something comes out in the future, then I'll obviously retract that statement. But at the moment, innocent till proven guilty. But at the same time, you do see some of the shit that's wrote down, like the generating the most revenue in the world. It's like, mate, if you spelt that wrong, because you've said world, and that's a place where Real Madrid exist.
I also see Barcelona there.
And then you've got some fella from Manchester that's going, yeah, but you know, we own football clubs in America. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, I understand that, but Real Madrid. Like, you could have just said third most, and we kind of all would have gone, I don't know. And then you could have made the argument about the sponsorships, and we'd have gone, well, it makes sense, They're talking sense. Yeah, fair play. All right, maybe. But no, you went for the most. Fair play to you. If you're gonna lay it on thick, you may as well just go absolutely balls to the wall
Well, they've
and
been
say,
balls to the wall with Everton and Forest. Who's next? That's the biggest question on our lips. So, who knows what's going to happen? But main focus now, obviously, we take a step back. We go into the international break where it'll be boring for some. It'll be anxious for me and the rest of Wales as we approach our playoff semi-final. And hopefully, I'm sitting here next week in higher spirits. Mayhem, what a privilege as always to have you. Thank you for joining me this evening.
no problem, buddy.
Ladies and gents, thank you for tuning in. If you are new to the Football Booth podcast, you can check out all our episodes on all audio platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Audible. You can find our live recordings over on YouTube. Check out the Football Booth. Like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. And until next time, ladies and gents, I bid you all good night and the star.